from the hostage areas.
Anti-terrorist operation zone with Colonel Andriy Lysenko, the National Security and Defense Council Information Center spokesman. Proszę pan Andriy.
Good afternoon, esteemed colleagues. In the hostage area, the situation remains not easy, but Ukrainian detachments comply with the ceasefire regime. At the same time, the terrorists continue to undertake provocations. Our checkpoints and positions were shelled near Lugansk and Donetsk, in particular near Maro-Orlivka in Shakhtarsk district. Our positions were shelled 5 times with Grad systems, guns and tanks, and then the attack began, which was reflected. Also, the shelling of Donetsk airport and shelling near Debaltseva was fixed. During the day, there were no Ukrainian servicemen slain, and 8 servicemen were wounded. Close to Shchastya, the adversary group of terrorists shelled the OSCE mission on the bridge across Siversky Donetsk River, and the monitors from the OSCE mission also fixed the breaching of ceasefire regime near Talakivka, 20 kilometers from Mariupol and near Debaltseva. During the last day, there were no military affairs on the border with the illegal band formations and armed forces of the Russian Federation. Also, the breaching of the airspace of Ukraine have not been fixed during 3 days. Nevertheless, in pre-border regions, the Russian military forces continue to use special radio technical installations, breaching connection of the mobile phones, and also listen to the radio exchange talks of Ukrainian army. Also, the coordination committee under the auspice of the presidential administration made a decision to finance on the state account the DNA expertise of the bodies of those who disappeared and were slain and whose names are unknown. And yesterday, in the framework of the peace plan by the president, 10 more Ukrainian servicemen were liberated from LNR and DRA. The situation in the hostage area in Krasnodonsk district of Lugan Oblast, the leaders of the band formations continue to request money from local residents. Thus, they require 2,000 hryvnia for certificate to those who want to quit the territory of Ukraine and go to Russia. At the same time, and usually they pay for the forced labor with food to local residents. In the liberated territories, the renovation work continues. In Slavyansk, 7 out of 36 ruined buildings are revived. During the recent days in Slavyansk, Slavyansk witnessed the rise in number of those people who want to come back. Thus, in the first days, there were only 30 such requests coming, while now the city council receives up to 200 such requests per day. During the latest days, 4 million hryvnia of additional finance for the pensions payments were transferred to Lugansk region. And as of today, 22 districts in Donetsk and 13 regions in Lugansk Oblast, the pensions were financed and paid. In Mariupol, the situation remains calm, and the checkpoints in the region are equipped due to the close cooperation between ATO headquarters and Mariupol and volunteer and NGO organizations, which provide assistance and help to the law enforcement officers and provide volunteers with wearing clothes, with medicine, with tents, and other necessary supplies. The servicemen are supplied with everything necessary, taking into account that the biggest majority of Donetsk State University, including the faculty and the students, rejected totally to join the DNR. Ministry of Education is thinking how to transfer this educational institution to other districts of Ukraine and looking for the premises for it. The international support, President of Ukraine Petro Poroshenko, during telephone talk with the U.S. Congressman John Boehner, stated that the voting of the committee on the act on support to Ukraine's freedom is the sign of huge support. Also, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine has sent to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Russian Federation a protest note against the illegal actions towards Ukraine and rough violations of its territorial integrity and sovereignty. The Euro-Parliamentary Rapporteur on Ukraine, Mr. Jacek Saryusz-Wolski, called the European community to strengthen sanctions against Russia to prevent further invasion to Ukraine. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Norway has stated that the government will join the EU sanctions against Russia. This was stated by Mr. Borge Brand. The Norway will introduce the same sanctions as the EU did on September 12th. The State Secretariat of Japan, Mr. Yoshihide Sugaze, has stated that Japan on September 23 has extended the sanctions against Russia. Also, they continue to strengthen sanctions supporting to their ally, the United States. These sanctions deal with the 5 Russian banks and limitations on export of the weapon. Also, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine states the worsening of situation with the Crimean Tatars of temporary occupied Crimean territory. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated that it is unacceptable. Any questions? Could you please comment? Could you please comment on the mine number 22 in Donetsk district, where they say, where DNR and LNR terrorists say that there were bodies of civilians buried in that mine. This So this blaming of the National Guards that they participated in that bureaus, that's not true, because the National Guards never was deployed there. There were military units which were deployed there. And about the withdrawal of Ukrainian military forces, military machinery with the gun size over 150 millimeters, up to 15 kilometers back from the front line. As of the moment, Ukrainian military remain in their positions and only respond to the attacks and fire opened by the terrorists. When the terrorists start to withdraw their forces from the front line, Ukrainian military also respond. But Ukrainian military have prepared a special special grounds, special places where to withdraw, while the terrorists have not do this. Yesterday there was an information from their side that the Ukrainian military has shot some youngsters. No, that's not true.
Yes. There are some information about the fact that there is a kind of, the concentration of tensions and fighting in the Donetsk airport was a kind of mesmerizing effect, a kind of military solution in order to cover what in reality was going on elsewhere. And there was a military build-up, to cover a military build-up along the frontier by Russian forces or pro-Russian forces. Could you confirm that, whether it's true or not, please? Thank you.
Я не дуже зрозумів суть питання.
I have not understood the question in full amount. The question is that the shelling and fighting around the Donetsk airport, this was to attract attention from the border and from the forces which Russia brings closer to the border, or that DNR terrorists bring something to the border. Actually, this was an attempt to distract attention. Now I understand. Donetsk airport is located at a rather far distance from the border with the Russian Federation. That's why we do not connect the shelling of the airport with the activities held along the border, which is beyond the control of Ukrainian military. We do not connect these two activities.
Or not? Is there a build-up, a military build-up going on or not? Did they stop it?
Чи Росія продовжує накопичувати свої війська на кордоні з Україною, чи вони припинили цей процес?
We have information that the Russians have a sufficient amount of forces, and they are not adding new forces. They are rotating that troops which they have already on the border. That is, we do not, we have no information on the increase of the forces. Whether any crossings of the border by the Russian military additional or there was rotation, and whether the number of Ukrainian servicemen on the border with the border of Crimea is sufficient. We observe the rotation of the Russian forces. As for the Crimea, the situation remains stable and without change. They do not bring new forces. There are sufficient forces on the border, on the line with Ukraine, and they do not move towards Ukrainian line. Any further questions?
It's about Crimea again. Can you confirm that those Russian forces in Crimea have never crossed the border between Ukraine and Crimea? Never.
I am not ready to say never. I need to look into the history. But if you mean the time frame during the last 5 months from the beginning of the start of ATO, their units have not crossed the border between Autonomous Republic of Crimea and continental part of Ukraine. One more question. Again, about Crimea, there was a question, do we react somehow? Have we moved our troops closer to Crimea? Yes, there are our troops there. They have defense positions, and we are monitoring the movement of our enemy. So the question on this fourth humanitarian convoy, has it arrived or not? Have we let it in? Is it empty? There are no documents, no statements on this convoy, nothing about its content and route. Again, Russian side unilaterally is planning to do this fourth so-called humanitarian convoy. We'll react to that. It hasn't crossed the territory of Ukraine, the border. Thank you, Mr. Lysenko. The next briefing of